Hello, Hannah. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How about you?
Beautiful. I'm doing quite fine. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see,
Oh,
Anna,
thank you.
oftentimes, yeah, I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Anna, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Anna, I love to make a reference to the amazing mango tree. There's some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Anna, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use
Hmm.
the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just
Hmm.
walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Anna, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the
Hmm.
mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, Anna. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day, and I was so excited. Here is my point.
Hmm.
The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Anna that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to say no to you and getting to read a little bit about you, the beautiful
Hmm.
stuffs that you're doing. I found them very inspiring and profound. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate you.
Well, that's so kind of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and share some thoughts and have a nice conversation.
Beautiful, and I just can't wait. Let's get right into it. So, you see, Anna, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons.
Hmm.
Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Anna, I believe it
Hmm.
takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the
Hmm.
application of it. And you
For
see,
sure.
Anna, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so
Hmm.
keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason I'm excited to have the incredible Hannah on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Anna, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Anna, that our conversation is gonna be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Anna, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Anna got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay,
Okay.
Anna, over to you.
Okay. Well, I was born in the United States, and at a young age, my family moved to Israel, and I spent many years there. And then later on, my first professional love was music. I'm a jazz saxophonist, and I decided to go to New York, because after I finished my undergraduate, because New York is considered like the jazz mecca. And then I stayed in New York and continued to live in the United States. And after a while, I realized that even though I loved playing the saxophone, I'm a saxophonist, I realized I probably wasn't going to make a good living at it. So I decided I needed another profession that I really, really liked. And I had been in therapy myself for many years to unravel my own, upbringing and my own influences and things I felt, uh, didn't sit well with me, or, my personal journey. And so I found that extremely fascinating and felt that I wanted to be able to provide that for other people. And so I decided to study to become a psychotherapist. And I, learned a method called Gestalt therapy, which I liked because um, I feel like it's a positive approach to people's lives. It's not about quote unquote what's wrong with you. It's about realizing that we all, when we're children, when we're young, we have to adapt to our environment and find the way to get sort of like extract the most nutrients out of the situation we're in and try to avoid, harm or things that don't feel right for us. But basically, when we're little, all of us, we have to deal with whatever situation we're in to the best of our ability. And, later, what happens is that we consciously, unconsciously make certain choices about what parts of ourselves to express, what parts of ourselves to suppress, that get negative reactions or are not supported by our family, by our culture, by school, by people around us. And then usually we go on in life, and some of these things become unconscious, meaning we think that's just the way I am. This is the person I am. But really, like the mango tree, I like that story about the mango tree. We have a lot of potential inside of us that is not being expressed because it was not encouraged when we were young, or we thought we could never do that, or I'm not that kind of person, or people like me don't do this or that, or can't have this or that. So people usually come to therapy at a point in their life when they're experiencing some kind of difficulty, some kind of friction, some kind of unhappiness, some kind of feeling of lack of fulfillment. That's what will motivate them to seek professional help. Otherwise, they wouldn't come, right? So when people come, they have usually something that's bothering them. And then through the process of exploration, we help them discover, what they really feel, what they really want, get more comfortable connecting with themselves more deeply. And I think that all of us could use a non-judgmental listening ear. I think nowadays people are better at understanding that you don't have to be quote unquote sick to go to therapy or crazy or anything like that. I think, most people don't have, maybe some people are very fortunate and they have family or friends that can listen in a non-judgmental way. But usually, even if family or friends are open, they have their own vested interest in you behaving a certain way or being a certain way because that's their preference. So a therapist is someone that, I have no vested interest in your personal life being this way or that. You're not affecting me, right? We meet an hour a week or whatever. And so I'm able to listen in a non-judgmental way to the best of my ability, and mainly to elicit from the client their experience. It's not about me, it's about them, what they're feeling in a situation, what they desire in a situation. And, some people, depending again on their upbringing, some people have a hard time really knowing what they feel. They are used to thinking more and maybe have like stock answers to themselves. Oh, this situation makes me this, But really, if we tune into ourselves, and that's also something we do sometimes where we just breathe, notice sensations in the body, notice, even if we can't put a name to it, sometimes we want to say right away, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that. But sometimes we just feel like, oh, I have a tightness in my chest. My shoulders feel kind of high right now, and we don't really know what it is. So again, I obviously have to assess each person, what's their comfort level, because my job is not to push anybody past their comfort level, but
Mm-mm.
to help people go a little deeper, get a little more comfortable with recognizing that our body carries a lot of information. Sometimes our mind and our body are not in sync, and our body is experiencing things that we don't even put a name to or don't even pay attention to, So Anyway, but I just really think that anyone can benefit from having a non-judgmental listener who can just help them bring things to the surface, and what I feel is that just verbalizing things out loud to another person in and of itself kind of moves you forward. It moves the energy forward, and once you hear yourself say certain things, you can't deny anymore that that's how you feel or that's what you want. If a person, let's say that in the environment they grew up in, certain feelings are not accepted, whatever, to be angry, to be sad, to be ambitious, I don't know what. But once you're able to say to somebody, I really do want to become, top in my field or something. If you say it, once you said it, like you heard yourself said it and say it, and the other person heard you, and it becomes like more energized, in your life. And so I just think that it's a really powerful thing to, have a non-judgmental listener. And that's really my job, to let people feel comfortable to express themselves more. And I think that, without going into too much technicalities, I think that's the main thing. When you have someone you feel comfortable with and you feel like you can express yourself, they hear you, they're not critical, they're not trying to push you one way or the other. I think it's a powerful experience, and that's what it was for me when I was, in that process myself for many years, that I feel like really helped me become the person that I am instead of the person that I was programmed by the family and society I grew up in to be, and I definitely came from a pretty conservative background that had very specific ideas as to how one should live their life. And, some of them I found useful and some of them, they just weren't for me. It's like trying to fit, a round peg in a square hole or something. It just wasn't for me. And if I had not, had that opportunity to be listened to and be encouraged to be myself, I wouldn't have discovered what I really wanted to do, where I really wanted to go, and get more comfortable trusting myself. I think that's a big thing that, sometimes we're taught implicitly or explicitly not to trust ourselves, to trust the authorities or to do what other people do, or society thinks this is good, so we should do that. And maybe it's not really gratifying to ourselves, or maybe we're not even good at it, or it's not something we really want to do. And so I think that, again, this process of talking to someone who's non-judgmental, it allows us to just learn to trust ourselves more, to pay more attention to what we really feel, what we really find fulfilling, what doesn't feel good to us, and to be encouraged to take that seriously. Because I really do believe that each one of us is unique, and we're supposed to be who we are. I believe we're not supposed to, shave off our edges and turn ourselves into something else. I believe that, sure, we need to be, civilized and not just like go around doing things with no thought of the consequences. But I believe that, the more we can be ourselves, the more fulfilling our life is going to be. We're going to feel better. We're going to make better choices. We're going to develop better relationships. And we also show other people, maybe who haven't had that courage yet, that it is possible to trust yourself, use your innate wisdom. And, we all go through life. We learn from mistakes and all that. That's perfectly normal. So nobody needs to try to never make a mistake. That's not going to happen anyway. We're going to make them. But just to realize that we can trust the source of wisdom inside ourselves and guide ourselves in our life and find the way we can be more fulfilled.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I got that. Hannah, we live in a society where they are constantly training us and, you know, teaching us to be like someone else. They don't want us to unveil who we are. They want us to be like someone else. So that's why your teaching and what you're doing is really, really important. And I truly appreciate that. So you've answered most of my questions, except from, let's see, two. So, what daily practices reduce anxiety?
Well, obviously, I would explore with a person what they experience in what situations. Is there anything in particular in their current life that they associate the anxiety with, And some people seem to experience a general, lack of ease, a general worry about life in general, and those things might come from some general feeling of being unsafe or, worried about things turning in a bad direction. So I would be exploring that with them. And then I think that there's obviously things people can do, just like breathing, yoga, taking walks, things where you're in the moment, because anxiety, there's a feeling in the body, and then there's thoughts, right? And a lot of people have anxious thoughts, and if they weren't thinking those thoughts, they wouldn't be as anxious. So we have to like disrupt that automatic thinking thing that goes on, which a lot of us do, like excessive thinking. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if they say this? What if that happens? What if, what if the government does this? What if the climate goes crazy and, we can't live here anymore? What if, and they're like, their mind is racing to things that are not actually happening, right? Now, we all have a reasonable need to plan ahead and have some notion about what's going on and make some plans. But a lot of the time we're worrying about things that are actually not taking place. And then our body's reacting to our thoughts. So if we can find a way to be more in the moment, a lot of times we can realize that actually in this moment, I'm fine. In this moment, I'm safe. In this moment, there's nothing dangerous happening around me. Like in this moment, there's no need for me to be on edge. But just saying that, might not calm somebody down. But if we do some breathing and again, like sense your body, notice the sensations, that in itself has to take you out of your thinking to more sensory experience. And that can be, either we can discover more about the anxiety, right? Because maybe a person, again, it all depends on each person's tolerance level for attending to their physical stimuli. But, maybe suddenly a person can have a memory of something that causes them to feel anxious, or maybe a person can, connect this feeling with another time when something happened that made them feel this way. So sometimes we can discover like the roots of it, quote unquote, like maybe this is something they're carrying from a long time ago, from an experience they went through that was never adequately processed. They never were soothed. They never were comforted. And so they remained like their nervous system remains kind of on alert in spite of the fact that there is no present threat, So that can be like sometimes a way of exploring and finding a root. But sometimes you can't find the root, but you're just anxious, And then again, if a person can attend to more sensory stimuli, even look around the room, notice colors, notice a picture you like, pay attention to the picture, look out the window, what do you see? Things like that, they take your attention away from your thoughts and you stop thinking about what if this happens and what if this person doesn't like me? What if I, walk down the street and something falls on my head? I don't know, whatever. Because a lot of times we're thinking and the thinking is causing us distress. And actually we're the ones thinking it, but we do it so automatically we don't realize we're doing it. And I know that for me, it took me a while to really realize like, I can actually stop thinking that if I want to, but I think also sometimes there's a habit of feeling disempowered, like things are happening to me, I can't change it. And the thought of changing it can be almost like disconcerting that I could actually change it. So, so like, again, with support in a session where I'm present, right? I'm calm, my voice is calm. I remember when I was in therapy years ago, one thing that really impressed me was how my therapist always seemed so even-keeled. Like I was going up and down and going through stuff and going crazy, but she always seemed so even-keeled. Like every session, she'd be kind of the same. And I remember, even though I didn't like verbalize it at the time, her steadiness impressed me, And I feel like I'm grateful that now at this time in my life, I believe I can present that steady energy to my clients. So even if they're feeling stressed or anxious or whatever, I'm with them and my energy can help them kind of like feel it, They can feel that there is a place where I can be okay. There is a place where I can be calm. There is a place where I can feel kind of like more in control of what I'm experiencing. I'm not just at the mercy of things that are pushing me this way and that way, So it's like there is something called entrainment, which I don't quite remember the exact definition of, but like they say with rhythm, if people are all together and there's a certain rhythm going, after a while people's hearts will attune to it, or they start attuning to each other, So I would imagine in therapy too, there's something to that where, I can keep my voice calm even if they're telling me something distressing. I can, be empathic, but it doesn't throw me off my base. You know what I mean? It doesn't knock me over. And that's something to learn too. Sometimes when people grow up in chaotic families or chaotic backgrounds, these are constantly, people are, blowing up or having mishaps and crises. Like to learn that you can be empathic, but you don't have to get pulled by them into their thing, And even if you're in an intimate relationship, some people think being in an intimate relationship means you're feeling what they're feeling all the time and they feel what you feel. And, at times that can be great, but other times it isn't. And you can love somebody and care about them, and it doesn't mean you got to get into every twist and turn of their mind or their feelings, So it's these things, I kind of learned it myself through my own experiences. And this is where my understanding is, and that's what I can offer people,
Awesome, and that's a wonderful one. I got that. So to bring this to an end, Anna, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Okay, well, to reach out to me, the best thing is to email me. And my email is HD like David, OLGIN, HDolgin.LP@gmail.com. So again, that's HD like David, OLGIN.LP@gmail.com. And I'm happy to answer questions. And if anyone's interested in meeting, having a session, feel free to contact me. And I guess I just want to offer a hopeful thought that no matter what situation you're in right now, I do believe your life can get better. And there's always hope. There's always a way forward. And the things that distress us now, there may come a day that we look back at them and we no longer feel the same intensity of distress, and that we may also see them as a turning point from which we decided to move in a more fulfilling direction, and we can learn from them, and then we can also offer hope to others. That's what I try to do.
Beautiful, and I got that. That's a brilliant word. So that's going to be the end of the show, Anna. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and share with everybody.